So I just want to give you an introduction to what Belt Road does, a little bit about our team and what we invest in, and then also some tips for potential companies that are looking for funding. So Belt Road Capital Management is a relatively new investment manager in the Southeast Asia region. We just launched about 6 months ago and have started making investments. So our team has a lot of experience in the Southeast Asian region. So we've selected to work out of Cambodia, our headquarters to be in Cambodia. For one reason, there's a lot of innovation happening here, but also it's a good way to cover the rest of the region. I think as other speakers have noted, there's really a lot of opportunity in Southeast Asia, even focused more on mainland Southeast Asia or the Mekong region. There's about 330 million people, and it's been growing at about an average of 8.5% for the last decade. So it's a really good opportunity for investors in the region. So a little bit about our team. Cliff is our Chief Executive Officer and founder. Cliff has a background in IB in Cambodia and in Singapore. Alex Odom, who is our Chief Investment Officer, was formerly at the Phnom Penh Post as the CEO and has some great experience in Laos, Myanmar, Thailand. And then myself, I came from Myanmar about 6 months ago, where I was a CFO of a company there and worked in investment advisory as well. So we have a lot of really good operational experience in the region, which is sort of the focus of our fund. Is we look to take a company that's got a sort of a proven or a startup company, and it has a proven business model that's operating, and we look to help them take it to the next level, which might be expanding to offer further services in their home markets, or it might be looking to invest regionally in expansion plans, like Vichett mentioned, moving outside of their home markets because, as you noted, Cambodia is kind of a smaller market, so a lot of opportunity there. A little bit about our investment strategy. So we're very hands-on investors. We spend a lot of time with our portfolio companies, and really, we really take seriously working with the founders to help them build a very successful company. This includes, supporting them in expansion and things like that. We look for companies with regional focus. It doesn't necessarily have to be just in Cambodia or mainland Southeast Asia. It could be sort of all over, as you'll see later. Investing in people, I think this has been mentioned by a couple other speakers previously. It's really important to invest in teams because founders and the people supporting them are really what makes a company successful. So that is actually really one of the most important things from an investment perspective. We seek to give growth capital, so we're providing capital to companies that are growing and need money to expand more quickly than they might be able to if they were just funding themselves internally. We're a sector agnostic fund, meaning we can invest in any sector, so that includes technology, but we can do investments in any sector, and we can do both debt and equity investments. So our initial fund that we're managing right now is an SME fund focused on SMEs in the ASEAN region. So our target investment size for this fund is $2 to $7 million. So this is not necessarily a VC like you might have heard from Bora. It's more of we're at a little bit of a larger size, so it's companies that are operating already and looking for expansion. Again, looking for strong leadership teams, that's really important. It's not just the founder who has a really good strategic vision, it's also the founder being able to build a team that supports their vision and helps them to execute on that. Another thing we look for is viable and strong strategic partnerships. This is really important, and I think the guys that are creating the ecosystem here, the startup ecosystem here, are doing a really great job. But it's really important to find the right partners for you to help you grow your business. And that's one of the things that we actually help our portfolio companies with as well, is finding strategic partners and bringing, sort of our experience regionally to our portfolio companies. Clearly defined business plan and a proven business model. These are just two things stressing that, if you should focus on, have a very clear goal and focus on achieving that. And proven business models is more just business models that are proven to be profitable instead of I'll cover that a little bit in a second here. So our initial investment is Digital Classifieds Group. which we just invested in at the end of last year. Digital Classified Group is an online portal and operates digital platforms across Southeast Asia and the Pacific. So these are just some of their brands. You probably all recognize realestate.com.kh, which is their brand in Cambodia. But they also have brands in Laos, PNG, and Fiji. So they're growing quite a bit. So just want to talk to you a little bit about opportunities for startups, and kind of where I see some of the gaps that I think are some things that I'd like to see, or that we like to see portfolio companies bring. So again, strong operating teams. It's finding the right people that can execute. Execution is key in these markets, particularly in Southeast Asia. Being able to actually drive a vision is very important. So building the right team is extremely important. A focus on revenue, and Vichad actually mentioned this briefly, but this is really important because I think a lot of tech companies tend to focus on just users and growing their user base. But I think it's really important to focus on revenue and make sure that your business model is profitable before you start to scale up. That way you can grow a lot better. Start early with financial controls. This is more of just a personal beef of mine. Because I'm the finance guy, so I'm always looking at all the financials. And starting early with financial controls really makes things a lot easier, both for you and for your investors in your company. I think that's actually very important, something that a lot of startups don't necessarily do early on. But it makes your life a lot easier, and it actually puts you in a better position when you go out and you actually need to raise capital. And then finally, setting realistic goals and expectations. This is important. Just setting goals that are achievable. There's a saying, SMART goals, which is just basically setting achievable goals and then going to hit them. You don't want to hear from a company that, okay, we're going to be the next Google. That doesn't really mean anything. You want to have a very clearly defined business plan and path towards how you're going to get there. And I think you'll find you make a lot more progress in doing it that way. So that's pretty much it. I think I'll open it up for some questions. If anybody has any.
Thank you, Witt. So if anyone has some question, you can also discuss more with Witt after those talks. Maybe, so you said you're industry agnostic, but if you would pick up some areas that would be interested as like proven business models, as you said, but in emerging markets like Cambodia or around, what would be some of your picks on that?
Sure. So I think in these emerging markets like this, the thing that I like to focus on, especially in the tech space, is just tech-enabled businesses. So it's kind of business models that have already been successful in in the real world, and they're just adding a technical or a tech side to it. And just pick on Vichad a little bit. The retail industry, just selling clothes in a retail market is something that's done, classically in a brick and mortar or at a storefront kind of facing. But what he's been able to do is move that online, so that people are using his application to do that. So that's where I really see a lot of growth in these countries, is in tech-enabled industries and in tech-enabled businesses.
Thank you. Thanks, Witt. Thanks for coming and sharing some insights with us. Thank you.